We would like to thank our Patreon donors. Thanks to Moira, Melissa, Lily, and Kylie. And an extra special thanks today to Louisa and Sarah for helping to bring us this episode. Louisa and Sarah, if they were a horse, they would be a matched pair of beautiful dapple gray Andalusians.
When you need some dough, you don't know where to go in this patriarchal capitalist hellscape. Well, here's the sitch, we're gonna help you, sis, because bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. And so can you.
So there is this ice cream parlor in my neighborhood that has the most amazing ice cream flavor. And keep in mind when I talk about ice cream flavors, like I do not like chocolate. I will not eat chocolate. It is the devil as far as I'm concerned.
Stop. Everyone is unsubscribing when you say that.
No, sorry. Okay. Well, so this ice cream parlor has what I would define to be like a perfect ice cream flavor. It is brown sugar cinnamon. And it is life-changingly delicious, and I could eat it by the gallon. But because of certain circumstances, I currently can't get to that ice cream parlor. So I have been experimenting with making brown sugar cinnamon ice cream at home.
Ooh.
By getting like a gallon of, vanilla or whatever from the grocery store and then mixing in brown sugar and cinnamon and then freezing it.
I thought you were going to tell me you were making ice cream, which Terry is doing right at this very moment. He's making us some espresso ice cream.
You know what?
Go on.
Fine. You just take your fucking perfect ass husband and his ice cream making abilities and you just rub it in my face with my failed experiments to make the ice cream flavor I love. Go fuck yourself.
I love this. This is getting sadder and sadder. You're just getting a gallon of Breyers and just dumping some brown sugar on top. Like,
Breyers? Bitch, no. I'm getting like store brand, like Safeway brand, country vanilla, and like mixing it together and being like, it's gonna work this time. It's gonna work this time. And like refreezing it. And then no, it doesn't work and it makes me so sad. And meanwhile, you've got your perfect wife of a husband in the kitchen there making you ice cream. I don't want to hear about it. Let's do this fucking podcast, okay?
Fine. You know what? I'm just going to say one thing. I do think it's fair to judge an ice cream manufacturer or an ice cream parlor by their vanilla. If it's my first time there, I'm going to order a vanilla.
Listen, I don't turn my nose up at vanilla. I fucking love vanilla. Usually I put something on it. But like, I fucking love vanilla. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Like a really good vanilla ice cream, that lets me know that every flavor you make is probably going to be banging.
It's the tits.
Enough about ice cream. I'm Kitty.
I'm Piggy.
We are the bitches in Bitches Get Riches.
We are a coven of Satan-worshipping witches dancing under the light of a full moon.
And we're ready to live deliciously.
The taste of butter. Our time on this planet is limited.
So let's get started.
So today's letter actually comes to us from my friend Will, and I have anonymized that name, so you'll never know who he is. Anyway, I know he doesn't listen.
I like that Will requires top secret.
Oh, he does. He totally does. He is a United States senator. So
Will is Kamala Harris.
Will alias Kamala Harris. Will asks, my girlfriend and I are sort of fighting over money. When we first met, I had nothing, like sleeping in my car, nothing. And I remember those days. That's when I met Will. But in the last 3 years, my career has miraculously rocketed into the stratosphere. I'm making so much money. Meanwhile, her career has kind of plateaued. She's working hard, but not really getting ahead. Meanwhile, I'm getting tired of winning. But the real issue is she's mad about how I spend my money. I don't mean I waste it. Nope. Instead, I'm making it for all the times friends helped me. Humble brag, but I'm ridiculously generous right now, and I love it. I give friends gifts, pay for dinner, and tip big time all the time. I'm sure this attitude will wear off eventually, but right now I'm just enjoying spoiling the people I love, including my girlfriend. But she's never been comfortable with it. And recently, when her sister said she couldn't afford a $300 class to finish getting her social work degree, I just gave her the money. I was happy to do it. It would improve her life. The money was nothing to me, and I'm sure she'll pay it forward. But my girlfriend was pissed, and I don't quite understand what I did wrong. Can you do your feminist-to-dumb-guy translation here and help out your boy?
I'm so glad you picked this. This is a really, really interesting question.
Yeah, I kind of forced him to like put it in the form of a question because he mentioned the situation. I was just like, this is perfect for my podcast. And yeah.
So I have a lot of different feelings about this, but I think kind of the first thing that I want to point out is that when people have been desperately poor, which it sounds like your boy Will has been there, I think there is sometimes a healthy degree of like opening up and becoming really generous when you have had good fortune. I do think that that can go too far. And I think some people use money in a way that can make other people uncomfortable. Are you overextending yourself? Are you so excited to not be flat broke that you're not really thinking clear-headedly about like what is an appropriate amount of money to give people? And also a little bit, I think, of I wish I was in a position to help my sibling out.
Totally.
And it feels a little bit like you're rubbing it in my face, which I don't think he is, but it kind of
But that's the impression. Yeah. No, I totally get this as a projection issue. Like she clearly, like when they met, like her career was really great and he was really down in the dumps. And they've kind of switched places here where like she hasn't moved forward in her career in a number of years and she's feeling really down about it. And he's making money hand over fist. And she's kind of looking at it going like, I wish that's where I was. Like, I wish I was the one who could just give my sister the money she needs to take this class rather than relying on my boyfriend to do it. I would hesitate to use the word jealousy because I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think the word jealousy, especially in a relationship and especially concerning money, like it's a gross word and idea to use. So like, I think she's projecting, like she's just pissed off at herself that she is in a position to do that. And I don't think she's justified in feeling that way. Like she should go easy on herself. Like everyone's career stalls. Like I'm unemployed as of recording of this podcast.
Woo, stop bragging.
Unemployment. I played video games for 3 hours today. Yeah.
And then had crippling anxiety for all 3 of those hours.
And then I laid awake in bed with my eyes wide open while I thought about all the things I should have done instead.
Taking off my like money cap and putting on my relationship advisor cap.
Yes, dear Abby, do go on.
Will, may I call you Will?
Yeah.
Since that's your real and true Christian name. Will, when you heard your girlfriend say, oh, my sister doesn't have $300 to sign up for her class, did you then talk to your girlfriend and say, well, hey, I got plenty of money. $300 isn't all that much to me. I'd be happy to loan her $300 or just give it to her as a gift. Like we could say that it's an early birthday gift or an early Christmas gift. Let's brainstorm. Let's talk about it. Or did you just go out and do it?
I think that's a really good point. You just kind of got to the nut or the juicy meat at the center of this nut.
I'm nutting.
You're nutting
right out of my juicy meat.
No, but I think it's a relationship question, not a money question.
Yeah.
You know, because like they're not asking like, how do I manage my money? They're saying like, you know, how do I navigate the very rocky shores of like where money meets a relationship. And I think that the relationship needs to come first. So the advice to talk to your girlfriend before just handing out money to her sister is probably a good one. And he probably could have saved himself a lot of heartache just by going to his girlfriend and being like, hey girl, your sister said she needed this money. Like, I think I should just give it to her. Like, do you agree? Or, you know, what do you think? And, you know, even if she had agreed with him ultimately to give her sister the money, like that small act of including her in the decision and, you know, caring about her point of view probably would have made this a non-issue.
It's respectful. It's respectful to consult with your significant other.
Totes.
Unless you are setting up a surprise party for someone who you know loves surprises, maybe don't like make her feel like you're cutting her out of that discussion.
Absolutely. And I think in general, like, it's not just a decision to do with family members, but it's a decision to do with money. Like, my husband and I have mostly separate finances, but he still talks to me before he goes and makes a large purchase, not to ask permission. Like, this isn't some heteronormative 1960s sitcom. It's more like, hey, I'm doing this, just FYI.
You are onto something.
Am I?
Yes, because, okay, so think about it this way. If you have a dynamic where your sister has kind of always treated you as someone to fall back on with regards to money or like responsible adulting stuff, what if, you as the girlfriend, you want to start thinking of you and Will as a unit. Aww. And that eventually, like, you'll stay together and you'll start making bigger and bigger financial decisions together, and slowly your finances will start to merge together. You kind of need to present a united front.
Totally.
Piggy, you and I fairly early in our relationships were discussing any purchase of maybe more than $100 with our significant other, because...
Are you suggesting we're extremely frugal and cheap? Because that is the truth.
No, I was thinking more about like, when you were dating your husband, it was in college when you first started dating, and it was long distance.
Oh, yeah.
And so like money was a huge deal. Like, will I have enough money for gas or for a bus ticket? I think you probably would have been in a position to, like, if you were going to drop $300 on something, you were probably going to talk to him about it first, or at least mention it.
Oh, totally. Because it would mean the difference in me being able, or us being able to afford a train or a bus ticket to go see each other, which was a priority of ours.
Exactly. And I think it's a bigger picture of like, what are her long-term financial goals as the girlfriend? What are Will's long-term financial goals as the boyfriend? And Will, by not talking about what financial decisions to make mutually, you may make her feel like you're not thinking about a future where your finances really matter to each other.
Right. Well, and in that case, it's almost, it's worthwhile to talk about how the decisions are made more than what decisions are made. Neither one of them has the whole picture of their relationship. They only have the whole picture and all the information they need when they come together and they talk about these things. So as usual, it's a communication issue.
Yeah. So we have assumed that Will didn't talk to his girlfriend about this. Let's play a mental game where we assume that he said, I want to do this. And she said, fine. And just was mad about it. What could that, in that case, what might that mean?
Yeah, maybe it's not just this one issue. Maybe it is a long-standing, like a trend that he's going through that she is slowly getting more and more fed up with.
Yeah.
I can't personally imagine why, other than her imagining that he doesn't have quite as much money as he thinks, or her sort of having this scarcity mindset where she's worried that in the event of emergency, like, he's going to regret paying for dinner all those times.
There's a wide spectrum of reasons this girlfriend could be having this response. I think that it could be that she is jealous that you make more money than her, and that she feels inadequate, that you can help her sibling, but she cannot help her sibling. That is entirely possible. Those feelings are petty, but they're also like very understandable and pretty normal for our primate brains, and something that she could work through if it was kind of lovingly brought to her attention. But I also see this whole other end of the spectrum possibility where I am pretty alarmed by the way that Will describes his own generosity. It kind of sounds like he is throwing money around. And I am very nervous about that. For someone who was poor enough to be living in their vehicle, like, we're not hitting absolute limestone yet, but we are very close to rock bottom if we're living in our car. And have you set up an emergency fund? Have you paid off that car? Do you feel like your job is really, really secure? I think a sort of liberating thrillingness to not being poor anymore, that when you have grown up in true poverty, that you kind of have to work through that thrilling moment of being like, I can just buy the most expensive cheese every single time I go to the grocery store. And it's an amazing feeling. It's a great feeling.
I have not grown out of that stage of wealth yet, by the way.
It still makes me really excited when I'm like, yes, I will reach for the stuff that was made on a farm instead of a factory. Like, it's thrilling. But I do worry that the way he's describing it sounds a little bit like you can be a nice person and not give your friends gifts all the time. You can be a generous friend without paying for dinner. Like, are people asking you to pay for dinner? Or are you kind of throwing that money around? I don't like the sound of that at all.
That's a great point. But I think, you know, you were saying, you know, does he have an emergency fund? Does he have a retirement fund? All of these things. Is his job secure? Like, his girlfriend might not know those things. And she should know those things. Like, they live together. If you are in a long-term serious relationship, like, you don't need to know the numbers necessarily, but you should know those things about each other. And I think you're onto something when you say, you know, like, maybe she's angry because she's worried that he's frittering away his money without having those sort of necessary safety nets put in place already.
You have to find the balance between what is generous and what is responsible. And the thing that may be helpful to think about is that if you are compulsively generous, first of all, I think it's less noble, because I think the whole point of generosity is to show that I fought and conquered my own sense of needing to hoard resources for myself. If you are not thinking through the value of those resources and you're just sort of throwing them away, it seems more like you're just uncomfortable with having money and you'd like for other people to have your money for you. So I think it's less meaningful. But also I think that when you are not responsible because you spend a lot of your time and money being generous instead of taking care of yourself, like, all right, so what happens if you get really sick or you get in a car accident or you lose your job tomorrow? Are you going to be okay when you are responsible and you make sure that you have erased the highs and lows of how fate may play with your finances? I think you make yourself someone that people don't have to worry about. And your girlfriend may be worrying about you if you're kind of just throwing that money away instead of thinking deeply and thoughtfully about, like, hey, part of being a good friend is also making sure that people don't have to worry about me.
Absolutely. Boom. Roasted. Or boom. Answered.
Will, you're on blast.
You're on blast.
How dare you be generous with your money? Don't you know we're capitalists?
Don't you know you need to rise through the ranks of capitalists until you've died with all the toys?
As neoliberal scum, I'm so angry with you right now, Will.
What an affront to our way of life.
The dividends, Will.
Think of the dividend.
The little dividends.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Listeners, if there's a question that you would like for us to answer, go to bitchesgetriches.com and click Ask the Bitches. Don't worry, we'll roast ya.
Yeah. There's only one way. I don't know why I'm still talking like that. There's only one way to guarantee that we'll answer your question, and that's to become a Patreon donor.
If you like what we do and you want us to keep going, please become a Patreon donor and support us with whatever donation amount you feel comfortable with.
We also have a merch store where you can buy t-shirts and printable worksheets and more. And fun fact, I'm currently wearing a Bitches Get Riches t-shirt as we speak.
Sell out.
It was the only thing that was clean in the drawer. I need to do laundry.
Are you saying it was your last choice?
No.
After I worked so hard to design them?
No, of course not.
How dare you? We're fighting.
Are you breaking up with me?
Listeners, we're fighting.
Are you breaking up with me?
No, I'm just driving up drama to make our sex better later.
Oh, okay. Good plan. Good plan.
Finally, there are some free things you can do to say thanks. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. I don't know if it's called Google Play anymore. Whatever you use. Follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Pinterest, and subscribe to our articles so you never miss a new one. You can do all of that at bitchesgetriches.com.
Hey, is there anything else they should know?
Yeah, Toy Story 3 sucks because the whole thing is anti-socialist capitalist propaganda where all of the people who profit by that systemic inequality and directly and indirectly uphold it are never held accountable. I hate it.
Good to know. Bitches out. Oh my God, that might be the first time we did it in sync.